November 1981. Griffith Muxenge, a lawyer and anti-apartheid activist, is on his way home from work. Close to his home, Griffith stops to help a man who says he has a problem with his car.
What's this? What's this? What is going on here? Just get out, man. Okay, don't do that. Don't do this to me. What's the matter? Watch him, Cheetah. Hey, Wena, it's a fast move, Lapo. Come on, James.
The killers steal his watch and jacket. It looks like a robbery. But later, a man was to reveal that these robbers were black members of a security police death squad.
I was the commander of the South African Security Police hit squad. My job was to kill government opponents, activists who opposed the apartheid regime. I would orchestrate it, give the orders, select the team, tell them how to do it. Mustn't be a shooting, it must look like a robbery. Use a pistol, use a knife, etc., etc.
Dirk Coetzee, the former security police captain who claims he organized the murder of Griffith Muxenge.
Coetzee?
But in the new South Africa,
Speaking.
Dirk Coetzee works for his former enemies, the ANC, and preaches reconciliation.
Hi, Michelle. Well, not tomorrow. Shit. I'm fully booked.
Now he hopes to put his preaching into practice, face to face with the family of the man he's confessed to killing. Can they make peace?
It's on peace and reconciliation, and I've got to do a contribution on covert operations of the security forces.
Joseph Quetley is also a political assassin, but he fought for the ANC against the apartheid government. Now, for the first time, he gives a full public account of a bombing which killed 4 white policemen.
The reason why I did this bomb is because I, as a black man in South Africa, never had a vote. Our forefathers had tried all possible avenues of trying to bring the past nationalist regime to their senses, but they refused. So the only language that the regime understood, I thought, was violence. So we had to meet violence with violence.
1 year ago, South Africans elected their first non-racial government. Now, there's a new struggle for blacks and whites, reconciliation. Former political assassins, like Joseph, have been given amnesty as part of the process of reconciliation.
I never expected that today I would be standing here and witnessing the new South Africa. I feel proud to be a South African now.
Viva the tripartite alliance that led us to where we are today. Viva!
Mandela's government is pledged to create a truth commission. Those guilty of crimes under apartheid, including security force members, can confess to this commission and apply for amnesty. But the bitterness of the apartheid years runs deep. Can the victims of decades of violence ever forgive the assassins? And if reconciliation should fail, what then does the future hold?
Without reconciliation, there is no future, because the past would return with a vengeance to haunt us. It's like being on the edge of a precipice, and we have the possibility, by dealing with that past through the process of healing and reconciliation, of moving away from the edge of the precipice. If we don't, we take the jump and we're going to be smashed to smithereens at the bottom.
Dirk Coetzee was a member of South Africa's security police for 5 years until 1981, but he fell out with his superiors and finally left the police altogether. In 1989, after he was exposed as a former hit squad commander, he fled South Africa, confessed to the ANC, and later joined them. Coetzee's self-confession was controversial. Most people believed him, although some did not. So far, he has never been charged nor given amnesty. Today, he remains a free man working for ANC intelligence.
How did I end up in the hit squads? Someone had to do the job. We were brainwashed to the extent that you believe that these oaks are no human beings. They're like animals. They've got no respect for life, for Christianity, etc. And it was your God-given duty to eliminate them, to get rid of them. It's either them or us.
Our next guest is a former captain of the South African Security Forces hit squad.
These are the three brothers of Griffith Muxenge, Coetzee's most prominent political victim.
He's a person with a role to play in South Africa's healing process. A warm welcome, please, for Mr. Dirk Coetzee.
This is the start of a journey that will bring the Muxenge family face to face with Dirk Coetzee.
What I know about Dirk Coetzee is that he was a former policeman who killed a lot of political activists brutally. Dirk Coetzee has become a folk hero in this country, and we don't like it. What makes us so bitter about the whole thing is to have this feeling that there is no system of justice in this country. I mean, for somebody to kill somebody and boast about it and not be arrested is a travesty of justice, is an obscenity, to say the least. That's what we cannot take.
We were nothing else than gangsters. We had everything in common. We were like a close-knit gang of thugs. We differed from other thugs that we formed part of the broader police family who had to bring this thuggery to justice. But a mafia. Help you with this one.
Coetzee has many political murders on his conscience, up to 10, he claims, in his time in the hit squad.
We were the law. We were the judge. We were the jury. We were the executors.
A typical operation was a double murder in 1981.
We took them down to the Kumati River next to the Mozambican border. One of my men put his foot on each one's head and shot him with a Makarov pistol and a silencer on behind the ear. The body just gave that jerk. They were put onto a pyre of wood and tires right next to the river, burned to ashes right through the night, whilst we sat drinking next to the fire, turning the remains over until it was all ashes. Felt nothing. It was kind of who's next. Before you could think about that operation, as soon as all the remains were dished into the river, you were again in your car on your way to the next operation.
Do you think those men knew they were going to die?
Yes, for sure. I think they did. It was obvious to me in any case in the end.
The stabbing to death of civil rights lawyer Griffith Muxenge was the first killing to be associated with Dirk Coetzee. Muxenge was the people's hero. He'd served 2 years on Robben Island for anti-government activity. And as a lawyer, Griffiths had the courage to defend ANC activists detained by the security police.
As a man, I think there are very, very few people in South Africa today who would match his caliber. Very fearless. He was very, very, very strong against injustice. He was really a man, you know. I'm glad to say that, and I'm glad to have been his brother.
Yes, this is Griffith Mlengi.
We are not after revenge. We are not after Coetzee's blood. What we want is justice. And I don't think we can ever be reconciled unless and until Coetzee is punished for what he did.
One never knows what resentment and that kind of feeling can lead people to do. You know, I mean, it could very well make some of them take, as it were, the law into their hands. And then you have a cycle, because reprisal leads to counter-reprisal.
The Magistrates' Court in Johannesburg, the scene of an ANC reprisal against apartheid. The 20th of May 1987 began as any other day. Police and court officials had no suspicion they were the next target in the ANC's military campaign. That morning, a man parked a Volkswagen car in front of the court. The car was armed with a radio-controlled bomb. The bomber was the ANC's Joseph Quetley. Joseph also carried a limpet mine, which he would use as a decoy explosion.
I looked for a convenient place where I could place my decoy bomb. I had timed that to go off within 30 minutes. It went off at 12:30.
Policeman Chris Esterheiser was on duty with 2 other officers when he heard the first explosion.
As we stopped at the stop street, we heard a loud bomb went off. We immediately knew that there was an explosion at the court and turned left. As we approached the court, Constable Dievenage then turned on the siren of my vehicle. As I went around the corner, I parked. Constable Dievenage and Katwana immediately got out of the vehicle to give some help to the people that was around.
I saw a police vehicle parked next to the bomb-laden vehicle. When I saw them standing there, I said, yeah, that was what I wanted. That was what I had initially planned for. So, and they did just what I had anticipated.
So they were the target?
They were the absolute target. I prayed, and I even shed some tears. I was looking at all the police and the people going up and down. Little did they know that something terrible was going to happen.
Joseph's car bomb caused devastation. It killed 4 white policemen and injured 14 other people. Through sheer luck, policeman Chris Esterheiser survived Joseph's bomb attack with minor injuries.
I did feel a lot of hate for this guy, because what he did was a planned thing. Why draw the police on a bomb explosion and then set another one off as the guys are busy doing their work? There's no excuse. I don't think there's any excuse for that. I don't think it's the way of fighting war.
A black man's life to them was worthless. So if I had at least killed close to 50 of them, I think I would have died a peaceful, a happy man.
Joseph Quetle grew up in Soweto. He joined the ANC's military wing in 1981 and went into exile. Joseph served a prison sentence for his part in the armed struggle. But he was never charged for his biggest operation, the Johannesburg bombing.
I had to do it. Politically, after assessing and weighing all the pros and cons, I feel that I was right. Today we are having democracy. This is because of the actions, some of the actions which were taken by me.
In another part of Soweto, policeman Chris Esterheiser arrives for his morning briefing.
Okay guys, just listen up. Another murder and an armed robbery. At this point in time, the deceased is unknown.
8 years on, Chris still doesn't know who planted the bomb, but he wants to meet the bomber. In the new South Africa, what hope is there that Chris and Joseph can meet and reconcile?
How I feel about him, it's difficult to describe. I hope that he can live. I hope that he can live with thinking about what he did every day, thinking about the people he killed.
The aftermath of the Johannesburg bombing.
It still is tough to forget all about it. You can never forget it. You can never forget something like that. It's something you have to live with for the rest of your life.
Policeman Chris Esterheiser only survived because he stayed in his vehicle.
It was like the whole car was on fire. It was lifted up and thrown back onto the ground again. It was just in a blink of a second that I saw everything, and I thought it was the end of the world. The sound and the smell and the flames.
It was such a huge black smoke which concealed the area for quite some seconds. I could see broken vehicles and shattered windows from buildings surrounding that area. What I could hear was rumors from the people that saw 4 corpses lying on the floor.
One of those policemen was 21-year-old Constable Andre Duvenhager. Duvi was one of Chris's closest friends.
He was a young guy, also young married, like I was, a family guy. He was a great guy. He was a great guy. I found Duvi in the main entrance of the court, just around the door. He was crawling up in a little bundle. He was still breathing. I can remember that. He had no clothes on and full of burn marks. His hair was like yellow. And there was a big hole in the back of his back. There wasn't actually blood coming out of it, but it was all flesh. And you could still see the lung was pumping.
Constable Duvenhager died at the scene.
At night, I would wake up, still see Duvi, hear him talking, laughing, joking. You can never forget something like that. It's something you have to live with for the rest of your life.
Andre Duvenhager's father lives on a small farmstead in the Western Transvaal. As well as having to cope with the death of his son, like many whites, he feared the consequences of black majority rule. But 1 year after the election, life on the farmstead has not changed, and his black worker is still without electricity and a bathroom.
You are going to develop in your way, and I'm in my way. Because our cultures is not the same. I'm a Christian, you may be a communist, and so I can't agree. I do agree with apartheid.
When I think about that bomb, and I think about the families of the dead policemen, I'm filled with sadness. And if I can have a chance of talking to them and telling them what drove me to doing that, perhaps they'll understand. I know maybe some of them will hate me, but I want them to understand that my intention, or I am not a killer.
Yeah, I just want this person that killed him, I want him only for 1 year to feel the way we was feeling. Only I don't want him to. Don't want him dead, because then he won't feel what we felt. Only for 1 year I want him to feel that.
Resentment and anger and the desire for revenge eat away at the very vitals of society and of individual human beings. And it is as much for the sake of the victim as for the perpetrator that we have to forgive. This is in fact practical politics.
Soweto in the mid-80s. During the height of resistance to apartheid, black townships were under military siege. Confrontations like these helped Joseph to conclude that he had to meet violence with violence.
The security forces were given absolute powers. So now it was not surprising to me when the people started taking to the street. The police, we regarded them as enemies because they were enforcing the apartheid laws upon us. You would be detained for lengthy periods. At times you disappear.
Objectively, it is violence, but you have to take into account what is the motivation and what is the end in view. If your violence is to maintain a system of injustice, then it deserves to be condemned far more vehemently than a counter-violence that seeks to change that situation.
The policeman, Chris, has finally been offered the chance to confront the past. A meeting with Joseph, the man who planted the bomb.
I would like to know who he was, or is, and why did he do it? What was his end result? And what was he trying to prove to kill the police?
I'd like to meet with him and talk to him. I hope to learn a lot from him. For a moment, let him imagine that he was a black man and living in Soweto. Then after that, perhaps he'll understand why I did what I did. I want him to understand that I am not the so-called monster they may have painted me to be. That I'm a human being just like him. The only difference could be the color of my skin with him. That is all.
The meeting between Chris and Joseph is arranged, but after his initial eagerness to meet Joseph, Chris is having doubts.
My colleagues, the ones I've spoken to, feel I shouldn't do it for my own sake. I don't think it's a matter of they cannot forgive, but I think they put themselves in my shoes and say then, if it was one of them, they wouldn't forgive.
Because of, yeah.
The pressure is building on Chris. The night before the meeting with Joseph, Chris decides he cannot go through with it.
I don't want to see him or talk to him. Can I forgive him? What the word's worth saying, I forgive him. But I prefer not thinking about him. I'll never forget him. I'll never forget what he did. Never in my life. As also all the people that he've hurt, his families, I don't think they'll ever forgive him. So, for me, it's not forgiving him. I'll leave him. I'll leave him.
The next morning, Joseph arrives early for the planned meeting, only to be told that Chris will not see him.
This brings us to one conclusion, that reconciliation is only expected from the one side of the population. Now here I am today. I came precisely to meet with him and offer my hand of friendship. In a spirit of reconciliation, he does not turn up. So it means that he does not want to reconcile. I think the only time that we're going to have proper reconciliation here is when our children are adults.
"14 years ago, here in Durban, former hitman Dirk Coetzee says he ordered his men to kill Griffith Mxenge. Now he's returned to confront his crime. Coetzee hopes his mission will finally bury the past.
To think of 14 years back. Something that one would rather run away from. You want to sort of distance yourself from your past, and you can't, because it's part of you. It's like a tail on a dog. It's there, it's with you. You can't cut it off, it's just there. Mngenge had to be killed because he became a nuisance, a thorn in the flesh for the security police. And they couldn't make a plan with him, with the laws available to them to deal with him. And then it was decided that he must be taken out.
Umlazi Township, where Griffith Mxenge lived with his family. According to Coetzee, the initial plan was to kill the lawyer as he arrived home from work. But first, they had to dispose of his guard dogs.
This is Mnenge's house where he lived, and about 2 to 3 nights before the murder, I prepared poison for his dogs. He had 3 or 4 dogs on the premises. I prepared poison and I brought one of my guys here, and he threw the poison to the dogs and they died that same night.
He did know that his life was under threat, and he took precautions. And when he went to work, he wouldn't travel alone. But it was unfortunate on the day that he was killed that he traveled alone.
Dirk Coetzee must now travel alone on a journey of reconciliation, a mission which will end face to face with the brother of his victim. Umlazi Township in Durban, the scene of the murder of civil rights lawyer Griffith Mxenge. Former hitman Dirk Coetzee has come here to confront his past.
I killed Griffith Mxenge on the 19th of November 1981 and was given instructions not to shoot him or abduct him, but to make it look like a robbery.
What's going on here?
A certain level of atrocity should not just be wiped off the slate just like that. Because, I mean, the sense of justice, not just of the individuals, but of society, is outraged. There is something in the texture of who we are, of the environment, that cries out for a redressing of the balance.
Someone has to go to war. Someone has to pull the trigger. During the wars in Europe, soldiers that was not prepared to pull the trigger were shot as traitors, as disobeying orders in films that I've seen whilst being in the UK.
But you could have been doing some other job. You didn't have to be killing people. You could have been working for the idea of doing something else.
I could have, but I didn't. I was the one who did the killing. And I used to run away for it. I did it because I believed in it, because I grew up with a system, the apartheid system, and I was a result of the system.
When you are weighing the extent of guilt, obviously someone who carries out an order is not as guilty as one who gives the order. But each individual person also has a conscience.
izimangaza lomhlaba ndiyotyusa izigigaba zalo mhlaba umagade ahlabayo kuthi bekuyinzolo izolo kuvela inkqwithelo semkanali ito lethu nalakwamxenge umlungisi igama lakhe lenkobe ugriffith lasemlungwini uzama ukulungisa le mbongi bendikuyizolo mna ndiyekokucela amancedo wathi mandize namhla kuba usaxelekile namhlanje ndiyafika umlungisi akaziwa akekho endlini eofisi nengudukathole uhliwe kusenyukwa kufunwa le ndoda wafunyana umzimba umphefumlo ubalekile ehlatywa wahlatywa ashiye eqambalele azama ukulungisa bamgebengile ya
He's buried in the cemetery, not far from his home. I get a lot of strength, from him. It's bitter at the same time because though he is so near, he is so far.
So I ask you now, what remorse do you feel?
Explain to me what is remorse. Give me a dictionary explanation of remorse. I've told you I've got to live with it. I told you there's a lot of embarrassment inside me. I've told you there's a lot of anger inside me. I've told you I've done everything possible to try and make good, apart from bringing the dead persons back to life, fighting the system with everything possible in me, not afraid, notwithstanding the fact that they've tried to eliminate me on several occasions. I just don't keep my mouth, but just go forward in fighting it until the injustice of the past has been rectified. And on top of that, live with what I've done in the past till the day I die.
How can you live with it?
As I do now, by talking about it. Healing can come with knowledge, and I feel it's necessary to talk about it. I think what you want me to do, or what the British public or the public out there would like me to do is commit suicide, and that I won't do.
The victim's brother, Dr. Maxenge, has been offered the chance to finally meet and question Dirk Coetzee.
The impression I get about this man is that, first of all, he's very arrogant. He seems to enjoy the limelight, and I think he's just doing all this thing, for the ego trip that he's in.
Maybe now when you meet him face to face, he might be even prepared, like Maba is saying, to come up with further evidence. Because we owe it to our late brother and his children to have something done.
I don't know what to expect. It's the thing I dreaded most, is the day that I had to face the family of my victims. I think he will be a better man than I am, greater man than I am, if he can accept my hand and kind of forgive me.
My first reaction was, when this meeting was mooted, was that I wouldn't want to see this man or talk to him, because I feel so angry about what he did. But after second thoughts, I thought that perhaps through talking to him, one would be in a position to to look into the psyche, of a mass murderer, if one could use that expression.
Good morning, Dr. Mninge.
Hello.
Pleased to meet you.
Okay.
Can I first say I want to thank you for seeing your way fit to come and meet me this morning. And it must be very difficult for you. But I just want to tell you that I really feel very sorry and would like to just apologize for the grief and sorrow that I created as a result of my deeds in orchestrating the killing of your brother.
When you set out to do this thing, what went through your mind? Didn't you know that this fellow had 3 children, 3 very young children that he had to support?
No, Doctor, to be quite honest.
You didn't know that?
No, I did not know that.
What did you know about him?
Nothing at all. I was working in the Durban area, come down from Pretoria. I just got the instruction that this is a thorn in the flesh of the regime and the security police, and that a plan must be made with him.
Why did you have to chop his ears, to stab him 45 times in his body? I mean, why didn't you just shoot him?
I had to put together a team of my black colleagues and instruct them to make it look like a robbery.
But robbers don't stab a person 45 times. They don't slit their throats.
I agree.
They don't do that.
I agree. It turned
I mean, it only shows that you people are animals. That's what you people are. Just animals, pure animals.
I agree.
And I really do not understand why a person like you is walking the streets of South Africa free. I just don't.
Why a person like myself is?
Yeah, is walking the streets of this country free. It just doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense to my family. It doesn't make sense to the rest of the country. Except it makes sense to you and a few people, in top positions. But to the ordinary man in the street, Tek Kutsia is not supposed to be where he is today. He should be behind bars.
I can understand your viewpoint, Dr. Mninge. I can understand it.
Do you know what harm you did? After what you did, we lost our parents. Both of them died of heart failure because they just couldn't take it. I remember my father saying that, look, I can understand them killing him, but to kill him in this way, like a dog, is unjustifiable. We will only be happy, Mr. Kutsia, about this whole saga when justice is seen to be done. By that I mean is that we would like to see you arrested, charged, and sentenced for what you did.
I think the reason why I wasn't charged yet is for the embarrassment it would cause to the old regime. But I've never said, indemnify me, keep me out of jail, don't let me stand trial, etc. I am one of the only, or very few, that had a change of heart. I had an option. I could have still stuck with a hard court if I so wished to. But things has changed in me, strange as it might sound to you. It changed for sure.
Are you telling me that overnight now you are a changed man?
Healing can only come with knowledge. I mean,
well, no, I don't agree with you. We know who killed my brother. And that hasn't healed the wounds. We know you did it. I just cannot accept, Kutsi, I'm sorry, that you are walking the streets of this country, a free man. After doing what you did.
I can understand it. I can understand it, Doctor. But would you feel better if everything just went quiet? If I stuck with the rest of the security forces, lied about it,
I'm not saying that. All I'm saying is that here is Tek Kutsi, who's committed the most horrible crime ever. But he's a free man now. He is on talk shows. He's a hero, and they are the victims of his.
I don't think, Doctor, one must see me as a hero, and I don't.
You are a hero. I'm sorry to say that.
No,
you've become a folk hero.
No, I think
you have become a folk hero. I'm sorry to say that.
Okay, Doctor.
And it is an insult to us that you've become a folk hero.
I respect your point, but I think you're wrong. I think it is a question of fellow South Africans appreciating the openness and at least someone that could stand up against the system and expose the system.
Ah, come on, I don't buy that. Sorry, I think we should stop this interview.
I think although the doctor came over as non-reconciliation wise, I think it'll be the starting point for him, maybe, hopefully, that I hope, in a process of possibly understanding all this absurdness of the past.
My meeting with him confirmed my worst suspicions about him. And I'd always said to myself, this man is not genuine, and this man is dangerous. And I'm afraid those suspicions of mine were confirmed. I'm sure almost all of us, would like to see reconciliation succeed. But I think that the best way to achieve it is, one would say, not just by papering over the cracks, because this is what, to me, is happening right now.
Should the victims particularly feel they have been shortchanged, then the whole process is undermined very, very seriously. I would fear, that what people thought was actually a shutting of the door of the past is merely really opening an awful can of worms.
The first year of South Africa's new democracy is over. The world has admired the apparent peace and tolerance of the changes. But the true integration of blacks and whites is a slow process. Decades of mistrust and violence are hard to overcome. The new generation of South Africans still wait to hear how their parents will deal with the crimes of the past. The stakes could not be higher.
It was dastardly, it was cowardly, it was brutal. I just cannot forget that.
As generations come and go, the healing will take place, but it will surely won't be a thing for a year or 2, 3.
Reconciliation from the point of a black man, I don't think is a difficult problem. This is born out of the fact that Mandela, after spending so many years in prison, is still talking about reconciliation today. I think the problem of reconciliation lies with the whites.
I lost my colleagues, but the people who really got hurt is the family, brothers and mothers and fathers of those who died. I think you should reconcile with them.
It is as much for the sake of our continued survival as for anything else that we must be people who forgive. We must be people who are reconciled and who are reconciling.
Side siyofika engcosheni